Good evening, I'm Adolf Oliver Toes. With me always is my co-anchor Eva Brown Kraut, and you're watching GNN News here on Channel 9, The 9.
Tonight's top story: riots in the streets of Hamelin. Sources say chaos has broken out over the radical campaigning of the artist formerly known as Piper, the third-party candidate. Topfila Singh, Turkey-based, is on the scene.
Yup, pure panic in the subways. Eva, back to you.
Thanks Turkey, we are just seconds away from the Piper's press conference. We go the live now.
Good evening, Hamelin. Allow me first to apologize for this interruption. I do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of everyday routine, the security of the familiar, the tranquility of repetition. I enjoy them as much as anybody. But in the spirit of commemoration, whereby those important events of the past usually associated with someone's death or the end of some awful bloody struggle are celebrated with a nice holiday, I thought we could mark this day, a day that is sadly no longer remembered, by taking some time out of our daily life to sit down and have a little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak. I suspect, even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, to terminate this broadcast. Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there? Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and dishonesty. Where once you had the freedom to object, think, and speak as you saw fit, you now have fughead Fox newscasters that seek to belittle you, coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission. How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable, but again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to former President George W. Bush. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent. Last night I saw to end that silence. Last night I entranced the children of the entire Fox newscast, to remind this country of what it has forgotten. Every person must be held accountable for their words, especially those in a position of influence that the people look up to, or face the consequences. More than 400 years ago a great citizen wished to embed the 5th of November forever in our memory. His hope was to remind the world that fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words, they are perspectives. Too long this country has been run by two political parties that have lost the ability to reason for themselves, but instead make decisions merely for political or financial gain, with no regard for humanity. If the 5-year-old versions of these politicians were to meet what they have become today, they would be absolutely appalled. The purpose of campaigning is to show the people that you are honest, and what you stand for is grounded on a solid moral foundation. Yet every election, without fail, all you see are videos of dirt the other side has dug up on the other, and the people's needs are forgot. And debates where each candidate tries to give a shout-out to as many ethnicities as possible, centered about a candidate's religious constitution which quite frankly shouldn't matter. Why does a person need to believe in God to lead this country, or be a good person for that matter? I digress, but this is just one example of how these candidates have to jump through hoops and be something that they are not, to appeal to the masses that have been brainwashed by mass media, to believe a presidential candidate should be a certain way. So if you've seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest you allow this election day to pass unmarked. But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me the 5th of November, the night before election day, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgot. God. V for Vendetta is a fucking awesome movie. Piper. Out.
Absolutely stunning. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, we just returned from live footage of a press conference with third-party candidate, the Pied Piper. In summation, he intends to stage a political uprising in Hamlin the night before Election Day, November the 5th. In his speech, the Piper called attention to the dishonesty seen in campaigning and popular media networks like Fox News, saying they will be held to account for their actions.
It will be interesting to see how the other candidates respond, what effect this will have on the people of Hamlin, and what actions local law enforcement will take. We have with us the Republican candidate for the presidency. What is your response to what you have just seen from the Piper?
Well, Eva, I've got to tell you I'm not surprised, but honestly I'm not worried in the slightest. The people know the truth. They're able to see that what we stand for is the truth, but if he wants to throw some big fancy party the night before Election Day, he can knock himself out. That's his God-given right. Heck, I'll bring the champagne, since I'll be the one with something to celebrate. This man is a godless heathen and a terrorist, and the people will see right through his lies.
Hey, you walk here too? What the goinky dink?
Ladies and gentlemen, it appears former President George W. Bush is now also with us. Mr. President, what are your thoughts on what the Piper had to say about you?
Well, I thought it was pretty funny stuff. He uses some pretty big words, doesn't he? Well, I'm gonna take off now. I'm meeting up with Dick Cheney to go get some Orange Julius. Don't ya just wonder how they make them things? Man, them things are good. Take care, y'all. Well, hi there. I am meeting somebody here. Can I have 2 Orange Julius, por favor?
No. I'm afraid we're all out. You'll have to settle for this lukewarm glass of goat's piss. It's the least I can do for the man that convinced an entire fear-induced nation that invading Iraq made any sense following the tragedy of 9/11.
Daddy, help me.